Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this PGA Live CPD webinar. And today I'm joined by Jules Appleby and Phil Barnard. Hi both. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hi Tim.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Perhaps we could just start off with a bit of a background about yourselves, and then we'll jump into the topic that we're going to talk about today. So perhaps Jules, I'll start with yourself.
Hi everybody, so I'm Jules Appleby. You may have seen me on some of the retail videos that we do at XPOS. I've been working with XPOS for 3 years now, and prior to that, as a sort of marketing consultant for about 20 years really. I now write lots of retail articles for the PGA and other magazines as well. So I'm sort of constantly having to be on top of things and doing lots of research. So I'm really pleased to be here today to be able to talk to you with Phil about the retail side of, coming out of lockdown.
Excellent stuff. And Phil, yourself?
I've been involved in the golf industry for 25 years now, primarily helping golf pros with their retail business in the form of XPOS. Had various names in the past, but XPOS it's been for the last kind of 10, 15 years through crossover. But my other part of my life is spent working with Golf Datatech. We're a retail auditing specialist for the golf industry, and we cover the US, UK, Sweden, Germany, and France. And our whole life really is about monitoring what's going on in the marketplace and helping brands and retailers manage their business as effectively as possible with the numbers that we create, so that everyone's got a true view of the market as opposed to an anecdotal view. So the data is pretty critical, and it's a tool that can definitely help businesses, golf businesses, grow and be more efficient.
Excellent, perfect. Thank you. Right, well, Jules, shall we start with you then? So just to talk about this lockdown. So lockdown has been, or starting to be, relaxed now. So do you, in terms of businesses, do you think they're going to go back to normal with obviously a few safety measures, or do you think they won't?
I think the short answer to that is no. Things aren't going to be normal for a long time, Tim. So shops are obviously still shut as we record this, but starting to open over the next sort of 2-3 weeks. It's been a really tough time for retailers. There's been shop closures and a big decline in non-essential consumer spend. Our retailers have had to make some really big decisions recently, from kind of closing the shop to furloughing staff, and hopefully also thinking about what kind of government help they're entitled to as well. Phil will talk to you more about the retail picture overall, but generally across general retail, we know there's been a big shift towards digital and online sales during the crisis. So this still hasn't come close to making up for the lost sales from bricks and mortar shop, which is a good thing. Shops are still very much an essential channel for consumers, and they're not going away. From my perspective, I think one of the things now we need to be watching out for as shops start to open is changes in consumer behaviour. So, people are dealing with changing work situations. They might have less to spend. I was reading some research today which is showing that consumers are coming out of this in two distinct sort of areas, if you like. So you've got the consumers who have more money to spend now than before, who perhaps haven't been spending money on bigger items or holidays, for example. And then you've got the other consumers who've been really hit by lockdown, perhaps have been made redundant or been furloughed and taking a hit, or having to reduce their working hours, who will have less money. I think one of the advantages of being in the golf industry is that golfers tend to be an older demographic who we don't believe would have been hit as hard by the pandemic. So, we're trying to be positive. We are going to be positive. There's every possibility that we're going to have a great summer, and that people will be keen to spend money that they've, been holding on to. I think what we do need to watch out for, though, is that the longer the crisis continues, and obviously watching out for second waves, is that new consumer habits or changes in the way people spend their money are more likely to stick if it goes on longer and longer. But I guess this is all about being an agile business. They're the ones that are going to come out on top. If you're the type of person who gets out there and does things differently, you know, your business will have more chance of being a success. Yeah, so hopefully today, you know, we'll provide some good insights, and we'll be able to give retailers some takeaways to sort of go away and think about.
Yeah, excellent, perfect, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting seeing a couple of golf clubs that have thrived with a few membership sales over the lockdown.
Yeah.
Obviously, golf being one of the sports to reopen. So, yeah, certainly some money out there from customers that are willing to spend at this time. So, Phil, in terms of in terms of retail, then kind of golf retail specifically, where are we now? How does it look?
Well, to be honest with you, it's pretty poor. If you look at, we're obviously in May now, so we don't have the full May picture, though I do have some details on that. But if you look at March and April, March was down, April was closed, and it was down 95%. So I think the surprising thing is that while consumer behaviour has changed in general retail, what definitely seemed to happen during the months of, you know, towards the end of March and through April, is that the online, while it was able to operate, it really didn't operate at the level that we were expecting. So it didn't take up the slack. Most of the online that we've had any visibility of has seen a drop off. And I think that's purely a factor that you know, people couldn't play golf, so they weren't buying any golf products. Now, admittedly, we only track 17 Golf Datatech, 17 kind of core product categories, which are the various club categories, balls, consumables. We don't track things like accessories or practice equipment. Now, anecdotally, practice equipment has had a real boom time. So there may have been a switch into some other categories that people were spending their money on. But generally, it's safe to say April was a terrible month. It was 95% down. And not all the business disappeared off to the online. So there's, to support what Jules was just saying, I think there's going to definitely be some pent-up spend available. Those guys, it's obviously a terrible situation for some people out there that have lost jobs and things. We feel very sorry for them, but the guys that are surviving, for many people, they will have saved money and will have more money in the pocket. And while the normal spending nature is for hardware to really have its bigger months in April and May, that's because people are trying to make use of it at the beginning of the season. What we may find is that people don't not spend, but what they're going to do is delay the spend. And you know, I'm really hopeful that we can get a real uptick in June, July, August, because through some other stats I'll let you have in a minute, we've got a good opportunity there to beat some of last year's numbers, because last year the weather was so bad. So I mean, it's so frustrating. I mean, we've had incredible weather the last couple of months. It would have been boom time for golf anyway if we can get out there, but certainly it's been a challenge. Not everyone's golfing purse isn't empty because they haven't spent it all online. So for all the pro shop retailers out there, there's still money in members' pockets as long as they stay being members. And from what we've seen anecdotally, there's been quite an increase in membership interest, at least. So yeah, down last month, and from what I've seen this month, May, we're going to be down again because obviously it's restricted. Although golf has opened, retailers aren't retailing in the same way as they were beforehand, but surprisingly a lot more is going through the tills than we might have expected, considering that the retail is closed. And then we can discuss some points as to why people can do that, because I think it's really important to understand there's things like custom fitting and stuff is now allowed. So as long as guys are doing it out on the driving range, there is a lot of club business out there up for grabs.
And you've got a bit of coaching as well, I guess, now that's opening up, and that whilst that's not directly retail, but that is certainly potentially is going to be linked, isn't it, to the income into the golf club pro shop, arguably.
And it's really important, I think, pros step up and communicate with their customers and offer support and let them know that they're there, and we can discuss ways in which they support them, because what we don't want them to do is to get into habits of buying in other places. So in the absence of the pro and that relationship, there might be a temptation to go online and see what's available, or spend some more money online. Whereas if actually the pro can deliver a click and collect service, they can deliver custom fitting. So there's no reason why, pretty much as long as they get organised, communicate and talk to their customers and make arrangements to book in fitting sessions and booking coaching sessions, there's a lot of hardware money up there out for grabs. So they really make the most of that.
Yeah, and it is about people making sure people know what you're doing as well, because if you don't tell people, they're not going to know, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly one thing that I've seen over this period is the importance of continually engaging with your customers, whether that's through Facebook, Instagram, your emails, phone calls, messages, whatever. It's it's hugely important not to lose touch with them. I mean, I know it is anyway, but it's almost a slightly different thing, if you like, right now, or has been. So So Phil, just staying with you, in your last article, which was about the future of golf retail in the post-COVID world, you talked about value as a proposition that retailers should focus on.
Yeah.
Why is that even more important now?
Well, I think there'll be more inclination from customers to value the pounds in their pockets and be slightly more discerning in what they're spending. They've got out of the habit of just spending for the sake of it because they haven't been able to go out and shop, and so they're being more discerning as to what they're spending their money on. And I think some of the key things that have happened over the last couple of decades, as I mentioned in the article, was that customers' perceptions have changed and the way that they view value is different. And I think the things, if we stuck at golf clubs, for instance, the amount of golf clubs being sold has reduced, but the value of golf clubs has actually increased. And it's because people can now get a better understanding of the bang that they're getting for their buck. And part of this is it's nearly all down to custom fitting and launch monitors. And so people can now make a value assumption or a calculation as to, I can see that if I use this golf club on the launch monitor, I get a dardage increase or I get a dispersion decrease. And I can then justify that against the money that's being asked. Now, if I want to hit it further, then maybe I'm prepared to pay £50 per yard or whatever it is. If I want to hit it closer, maybe I'm prepared to pay, a percentage of money. So it's having some ability to illustrate what people are getting, and I think people are going to be more discerning of that in the future. And having tools and mechanisms, not just in golf clubs, but in clothing and in footwear, and being able to define, the comfort that's being delivered or the fit and the look that's being delivered. While difficult to achieve, if people can think about that in terms of why customers buying it and then justifying what they're spending on it, I think that's something that customers are going to be thinking about much more in the future. As I said, it's easy with clubs because we can just put yardage on it. Harder to do with shoes, but if we focus on the comfort that's being added or the waterproofness, or come up with some other, I made some suggestions that we use the launch monitor to see how far a club goes, but how about how we use the launch monitor to see how far we hit the ball with a pair of shoes, different set of shoes on, or with a different waterproof jacket on. It's the same metrics delivering value from maybe the flex in the clothing. As I said, something just slightly alternative that people need to think of. I think another thing about giving value, it's also about the experience, because it's the whole package. And when you're making the purchase, if you're just picking it up if there's no real service from the retailer or no experience from the retailer, that diminishes the value that's being delivered. But if with the delivery of the product and the delivery of the purchase experience, you can add value there, then there's opportunities for retailers, for pros, to add value into the way that they do their job without necessarily them costing them physical cash, if they can deliver it in both expertise and experience in how the shop's laid out, how well the salesman, the pro or the assistant delivers his experience and understanding to the customer. And I think it's that little bit of effort will be appreciated, and will be more appreciated going forward, because I think there'll be more of an attraction towards the club, there'll be more attraction towards the community of the pro shop going forward, because I don't think people are going to want to spend as much time in big busy malls, and that's going to be harder for some of the bigger retailers to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. And I think actually that there are some positives that might come out of all of this. We don't know yet. We can review this in 6 months or a year's time. And some of that will be, as Phil's just touched on, is that, and it might work to the advantage of the golf retailer, is that people, some of the sort of bigger sort of retail influencers are talking about how things might become sort of more what they call hyper-local. So people will actually sort of turn away from the big retail experiences in the malls and stuff because they feel less safe, and they'll go to somewhere where they trust, which would be their sort of local retailer and hopefully the person in the pro shop. So that there are some other positives as well as, you know, and I think as a retailer, you have to sort of shift your own, or just focus on your core values. And if that's about looking after your customer and making them feel safe, and focus on their well-being, then that translates to improving their game and all sorts of stuff. But just giving them a sort of a feeling that they're, you know, in a safe place, you know, I think is going to be key, certainly in the short term.
Yeah, it's almost like adding value, isn't it, to their experience and to what they're buying. And I mean, you know, naturally very important within retail anyway, but certainly there's an argument there to really focus on it at these times anyway. Sorry, Phil, what were you going to?
No, I was going to say the other thing is in terms of adding experience, and also I think we need to be more flexible in the approach going forward. A lot of what's going on, the rules are changing on a regular basis, and we're having to duck and dive a little bit. And I think pros need to be responsive to that, responsive to the members' needs. I mean, you know, while retail shops are closed, click and collect is not closed, and custom fitting is closed. And I think some people are kind of haven't hooked onto that. There's still the opportunity to do custom fit with your members on the driving range. There is still the opportunity to say anything is available from my shop. I can, you know, leave it in your locker. I can leave it outside on the table, outside the golf club when you come and pick it up, because customers are coming to store. You know, most pros have an account system. It may be a time to leverage a little bit of that for the next few weeks. So don't worry, I'll put it on the account. I can send you an invoice or send you a statement at the end of the week so you know what's going on. It's just being a little bit adaptable. Use the phone, email the customers if they need anything. Just give us a phone, I'll have it ready for you when you turn up. Putting a little bit of work in at the back end to try and deliver the experience in a slightly different way. So yeah, think about the way that click and collect works, because that's allowed. We've heard some quite interesting success stories in the sports field where basically some of the shops that we work with have been obviously shut since shutdown, but have operated continually on a dial-up click and collect arrangement where they've been delivering product to the local vicinity houses of people. So there are ways in which people can work with this, and the benefit that most pros have got is they have got customers coming to their door now. I mean, by all the anecdotal bookings and kind of membership information there, you know, we could see some really positive upsides. I mean, I can see what we've seen in Sweden, for instance. They've seen a massive uptick, and actually April this year was 20% up on last year. Australia's reporting big gains, so you know we could see an upswing. And moving forward, I think you know, if we look at some of I was just pulling some numbers up here. The one thing we can consider when we're comparing this year with last year. Last year was an absolute stinker for the second half of the year. Between June and October, in terms of rainfall, we had 180%, 114%, 153%, 127%, and 109% of average rainfall. So we were washed out. Rounds were down, play was down right through the key part of the season. If we manage to get half the weather that we've had at the moment during the summer when it's here, I think there's a great opportunity, because, you know, for instance, I think a lot more people will be playing golf during the summer because they're not going to be going on holiday. There's nowhere for them to go. Even if Spain and the rest of the world opens up and says, we're available, come visit us. I don't know how many people are going to want to go into a hotel or get on an aeroplane and join all the other people with a chance that, especially if there's a flare up, people get stuck with all the transportation issues. So we're in for a bit of a bumpy ride over the next few months. That's obvious. And so I think there are opportunities for the pros if they're a little bit savvy and do things slightly differently, focus on the customer and trying to support them, and you know, to deliver service and experience in a customer service way. They can still do some revenue and as I said, as you said earlier, lessons, and the customer fitting is still an opportunity. Yeah,
definitely. So just on that, I go to you, Jules. So when we touched upon it already, and you've mentioned it there, Phil, customer loyalty is key, and I think it's arguably even more key right at this moment to some extent. So Jules, from your perspective, what can retailers do to strengthen ties with customers?
Do you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because actually it's times like these that really do show you, you know, just how important loyalty is, but it's also when you find out who your loyal customers are. and it's worth, you could probably look around you now as a retailer, and you could probably, you'll know exactly who they are, because they tend to be the customers that will carry on spending with you even in a downturn. For growth, loyalty is absolutely critical for any business, for growth. And so, yeah, I think Phil's touched on a lot of it already. It's just really important to reinforce how key it is to stay engaged with your customer. But at the moment, also be really sensitive to changing needs. And we talked about health and well-being and creating the safe environment. It's getting that balance right, isn't it, between encouraging sales, not letting in-store safety displays block people's journey around the store and trying to encourage people in, but also giving them that, making sure that everybody is safe. So it's being sensitive to changing needs and behaviours, and then also just as a retailer, changing your offer, adapting your own offer accordingly. Overall, communications are obviously, like you said, Tim, always important, but now more than ever. And it's just really key. I mean, I would, as a retailer, as you sit down and prepare your business plan, sit down and think about your communications plan, because now it's all about relevance and timely messages, and making sure, as Phil has said, getting the product to the customer, the products that they want. And then also helping them achieve their goals, adding value that way. So in terms of actually physical sort of tactical stuff, it's social media, but making sure that you focus your attention, because you're going to be really busy right now, lots of balls in the air. Make sure that you're spending your time where it's most useful. So don't try and contact all your customers on LinkedIn or Twitter. As a retailer, golf retailer, you need to be on Facebook where your customers are. So definitely lots of social media. And if you've never really dipped your toe in the water, now's the time to do it. And social media is not just about one post a day. It's maybe 2-3 posts a day. You can do a post on Facebook. Within 3 hours, 2 hours, it's gone. So you need to keep posting to make sure you hit as many people as possible. If there's something that's really important to you, spend £5 on just boosting that post, and just make sure it reaches more people in your area, or try and attract new people to the shop. Click and collect, Phil's already touched on that, is huge, and it's a great way to get people to the door as well. What I would say is that click and collect is all about ease and convenience for people. So it's one thing getting people to take up click and collect, but it's another thing making sure that experience is easy and convenient once they get to the shop. So if they've got this click and collect going on, suddenly have to join an even bigger queue, or they can't find you and all that, or don't know where to go. So it's just making sure that your signage is right and that the whole experience is seamless from start to finish. I took the kids yesterday to a crazy golf somewhere near me. I won't say where it is. There's also a driving range and a retail store. So the shop was shut, obviously, unfortunately. But I phoned up before and I said, is the crazy golf open? And he said, yes, it is. I said, are you busy? He said, no, nobody even knows. I don't know how to tell people that we're open. So we turned up, there was hardly anybody there. It was lovely for me, such a shame for them. And then the driving range as well, there was nobody on it. So I did do my usual kind of spiel and try and encourage him to give him some tips about what he should be doing, because he didn't know what to do. It's just, if you don't know how to use social media, or just how to do it, it is really down to just emailing people, social media, and just getting the message out there, or getting in touch with your your local press as well, who all have digital platforms. And I found them really useful during the lockdown, to just basically get in touch with them and say, hey, can you just share some of our Facebook posts, please? And they will do that. So they want to help the local community. And so I get in there before, the general retailers open, and get them to help you.
I think the trust aspect, it's more aspect, not an issue.
Yeah,
is huge for me. I went to B&Q the other day because it's open, and I was blown away with how organised, efficient they were at our local store. I was a bit nervous going, I'll be honest, and I've done everything I can to stay at home, but we went for it, and everything was safe, secure, clear, well communicated, organised, didn't once feel compromised, and I think that would translate into certainly in the golf retailing, into the shops and so on. If you can make your customers feel safe, and there's that trust element, that's going to have an element of strengthening those ties and the loyalty, like you say. So
definitely.
But yeah, so yeah, no, some really good points there. Thank you. Phil, Jules, is there anything you'd like to add as a summary or conclusion to what we've talked about?
Well, I think Jules has said some really good points there, so I won't repeat all that. Communicate's really important. I think we've got to be flexible. It's, you know, I think through, if you look at some of the messaging that's coming out of the government, a lot of the time people are there expecting a man on a white horse to come charging through and to pull out for him. There is no man on the white horse ever. It's just as a general rule. And so part of the messaging now in the government is, you know, we've got to be alert, and part of that's putting responsibility on our shoulders to do the right thing. So we've got to do the right thing for customers, but it's going to be down to, you know, pros, you know, pulling, you know, doing the right thing now for their businesses, and you know, making steps forward so they can make customers feel safe to return and spend some money. So flexible, communicate, put the effort into that experience and that service, but be a little bit brave, because as I said, I reckon there's 15-20 million pounds worth of iron sales that are out there ready for the taking, that have missed the main part of the season so far. So you know, there's opportunities out there. People are going to spend money, so you know, we need to. Obviously, things change dramatically on the 15th, but there's lots of preparation that can be done beforehand, and there's opportunities to deliver a service to the customer beforehand, obviously in a safe and controlled manner, because as you've said, that is important to customers. When they come in, they've got to feel safe. So the right precautions, you know, the screens, the hand sanitizer and things along those lines, I think add a lot of benefit. But there are opportunities out there, but it's up to the pro. They've got to kind of grab the opportunity.
Great, that's really good. Just one final thing. If people watching wanted to find out more or ask you some more questions about what we've discussed and some other retailing aspects, how could they perhaps go about that, please?
Well, they can definitely email either of us. That's no problem, or they can get in touch. So for general XPOS queries, the best way to get in touch is via the support button on a website. There's a little blue lozenge. You can just click it and you send a message, and the support team will come back to you straight away. And that could be about anything. And if it's not something technical and they want to ask us, they can contact Phil or I through there. Or yeah, you can call up. Also, I think we're pretty active on Twitter, because that's where the golf retail community are. So Twitter, LinkedIn are our main channels. So that's Crossover Tech. But yeah, just get in touch, or just message us via one of the social media channels. We'll also be posting to our customers. We'll be sending out a newsletter on the 1st of the month, so it will contain our usual sort of pro shop sort of information. So we normally provide a big piece of content once a month, just about what you should be doing as a retailer that month, and it quite often is written on the back of the stats that we get from Phil and Golf Datatech. So it should be quite informative. So that's coming out on the 1st. But yeah, if there's any sort of other queries, just get in touch. You know, follow us on social, usual stuff. You know.
Excellent, perfect. Jules, Phil, thank you ever so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
No problem at all. I'm looking forward to getting onto my couch there. Thanks for the opportunity. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks guys. Cheers.